Hello, guys. Hope that you're good. Uh, Today, I'm going to show you how to write an abstract of your thesis or research articles. Many students are trying to work from home and they are trying to write their thesis, but there are always problems and they need proper guidance, for writing their thesis, right from the abstract to discussion. So, in this series of lectures, I would step by step guide you how to write, different elements of your thesis. So I would start with the abstract. In this presentation, I would just let you know about different elements of abstract or summary of the thesis, and then I will practically show you how to make changes to your abstracts in order to make it pertinent. Um, so you have to bear with me for some time, and you have to go through this entire presentation in order to learn about, how to correct your abstracts or summaries that you already have written for your thesis. Abstract is something that comes first, or it is in the beginning of the thesis, before the table of contents that you give out there in your thesis. So you put the abstract even before that. So this is the first thing, or the first presentation of your entire thesis. And your entire thesis actually is a mirror image of your abstract. Whatever you give in your abstract would be elaborated in the same sequence in your thesis as you have given here in the abstract. That's why it's very important to write a perfect abstract, because most of the people would just read out, uh, they would go through your abstracts or summary of the thesis. And that's why it's very much important to be very careful while writing an abstract. So although it is coming, is one of the first thing that a reader would encounter in your thesis, that whatever you have done in your thesis, it is written right at the end. When you are done with all the thesis processes, you have compiled your results and you have discussed them, you have given proper referencing in each and every case. So when you are done with your entire thesis, after that you are able to write an abstract. So you write it at the end, but it comes right in the beginning of your thesis. So here is an abstract. One of my student actually has sent me this abstract, and I have given it different colors in order to show you that what are the different elements of this particular abstract. So I would correct this abstract, in a stepwise manner. But first, I want to tell you that what are there in this abstract actually. So if we start with this red text that you see here, I would start reading it, then you would come to know that what actually it is. Dengue fever. Dengue fever, which emerging as major public health problem, affects 50 to 100 million people annually, with particular reference to developing countries. Dengue fever reported in Pakistan in 1994 in Karachi, although frequent incidents had been started in various provinces, including KPK during 2008, 2013, and 2017. Keen on the point of view of past acquaintances and observance in view of dengue outbreaks, we implement presented research to study the epidemiology in Banu KPK, which is not documented yet. Okay. So if you look at the red text, in the beginning of the abstract, This actually provides the background. It is called the background of you know your abstract, okay, your work, your entire work. So you have to be very brief with this background when you are writing an abstract. Okay, a background uh, that you give out is introduction, is elaborated background. Your introduction and literature review are based on this particular background, or you can say that those are elaborated forms of the background that you provide for your study. And here you have to be very brief. These a couple of sentences as background of your abstract, whether you are writing it for your thesis or you're writing it for a manuscript, you should be very brief with it. You should just pick a sentence or two that are truly representing the background of your work. And some people also are going to couple it with their rationale of the study, which is documented here in this sentence, you can say, which is not documented yet. You know, so this is the rationale of study uh, coupled with the background. So many people would do it that the background plus, the sentence at the end of the background, which provides rationale of the study, or when you're writing, the other chapters of the thesis, there you can provide with a separate rationale, but here it is the rationale. So this is the first part, which is the background. The red text is providing the background. Although this background is not correct, I will show you how to to write correct sentences and how to write a brief background. So I would just, write it in this session, and you would come to know that how to make changes to the background in order to make it perfect. Okay, now the second part, which is in blue, if you look at it, this study was conducted in two hospital districts, headquarter hospitals. In combined military hospital cohort, samples were gathered from both department IPD and OPD patients from July 2018 to November 2019. IPD patients were directly interviewed, while in case of OPD patients, blood samples were taken and other data were gathered by questionnaire. So if you look at it, what do you guess? What is it? It's actually the methods. Okay, so the methods are important part of your abstract. But before the method, you should also describe the aim of the study. That what was the aim of this particular study? You have identified a gap here. This is the gap or rationale of your study, that this kind of study has not been done in this particular part of the province. That's why you are going to do this particular study. Okay, so here, if you make changes in the beginning of this these sentences, then you can also connect the aim of the study with the methods that you have used, and I will show you how to do that. Okay, it's very simple, not very complicated. So background and rationale are gap that you have identified. The aim of the study is important that you should give, followed by the methods that you have used. So you must give the methods that you have used for assessment or for carrying out a particular study. The methods or the methodology that you have used to achieve some kind of results. Okay, so this is another part. Now, if you look at this, this purple text, In present study, a total of 14 or 26% patients were positively diagnosed with D and V or dengue virus among 1,700 suspected patients. The frequency of infection was higher in males, 70.40%, in contrast to female. The 46% cases come from Lachi, 24 from another place in another place, while 12% cases were from urban cohort. The age groups 20 to 30% revealed highest prevalence, 36.2%. The infection rates were varied with season, with 64% cases reported in post-moon season. So what is it? The purple text actually are the results. Uh, these are results given in your abstract. Okay, so the reserves section is, methodology section is followed by reserves. You state in your abstract that you have used these methods, and now you are stating that you got these results. So you should briefly describe your results. You don't have to, reproduce all the results inside your abstract, because that would make the abstract longer. In case of different journals are, when you are writing a manuscript, then there is limitations. They some journals format would require only 250 words or 300 words, so you should have to be very brief, and you must know what to mention here and what not to mention here. So what you have to mention here is, your significant results. Is actually, what are actually your most significant results here. So you have to mention that something that is, striking, or something that seems very important would be mentioned here, but not your entire results would be given here in this particular section of the abstract, which is results. So these are results. Then there, this black text, let's read. Our research revealed the 3 different dengue endemic areas in district cohort. We need dynamic surveillance system for vector control to minimize the risk of dengue fever. Healthcare officials need to establish the rapid diagnostic facilities in endemic areas, accompanied by vector control strategies and covering of all water reservoirs. So what is the black text? What is your guess? This actually is the conclusion. And many students have problems with the conclusion. Many students, they are not well aware of it, that your results actually are not your conclusion. You draw a conclusion based on your results. Okay, so um, I have gone through the work of many students, and many uh, of them, they would just state their most significant results here in the conclusion section, which is not right. Actually, you have to draw a conclusion out of that, that if you have got these results, what actually these results mean. you know uh, so you have to state that particular thing here is your conclusion. Okay, so now you know about the different parts. That first you have to provide a sentence or two of a background, and a sentence that mentions the gap that you want to address in this particular study, or a rationale. Okay, and that also is, then it is followed by the methods. The methods can be connected with the rationale or the aim of the study that you are going to describe. You can write it combinatorially. Then after the methods that you have used, you are you know uh, giving your results here, and after the result section, you would describe the conclusion that you draw. So if you look at the this text, the black text, there is not only the conclusion that they are drawing from this particular study that they have done, they are also giving some other advices to the healthcare officials and other diagnostic facilities. So these are actually recommendations. Some people would give recommendations as part of the abstract, and some people would just be happy only with the conclusion that they are drawing out of their research. So it depends upon the author, the investigator, that what actually he intends to do. If he wants to give out recommendations there, if he thinks that it would look beautiful or it would be of some importance, then recommendations can also be part of it. But if there are space limitations, then you have to be brief with all this stuff, and there would be no space left for recommendations. So let's now copy this first part background and correct it. That how are we going to correct it? Because this actually is not the correct version. If I just copy it from here, I just want to show you that how can you make changes to this particular part. I copy it, I go to the next slide, and here I will paste it. Okay, now here I'm going to rewrite this background. Okay, you have to see, I want to change the font color so as to make it easy for you to understand. Okay, now if you look at this, the first spot, dengue fever, which is emerging as major public health problem, affects 50 to 100 million people annually, with particular reference to developing countries. Okay, so what can you do actually to write it in a different way, in a simple way, and to spare some words actually, because in the abstract you have problem with the number of words, so you have to minimize the number of words. So if I just start with it, I would write uh, dengue fever. I can write DF in the bracket, okay, because when I write DF once here in the abstract, then I would not have to repeat writing dengue fever the whole word again and again. So that would also be convenient for me. Okay, so I can write it like this: dengue fever is a major health problem or hazard. You can think about different words. Or hazard, you can also write that, uh, affecting millions across the globe. Okay, the message that I want to give out there to people is very clear from this sentence, that dengue fever is a serious problem. It is affecting millions of people across the globe. Excuse me. Then if you look at this abstract, the student has written, DF reported in Pakistan in 1994 in Karachi, although frequent censuses had been started in various provinces, including KPK in these years. Okay, so he's giving the background of infections in Pakistan, and all these things would have been repeated in the thesis, maybe a number of times. You also gave details of these different, outbreaks in your introduction, and you also are quoting the literature, particular literature, specific literature review, literature that was published about these different outbreaks in different years. So you don't have to, write everything here. Okay, you can shorten this particular thing in many different ways, but you have to be very careful not to use too many words in order to describe the background of these different outbreaks. And simply you can say that although uh, I'm trying to provide a background of this particular these outbreaks that we are talking about, along with the rationale that we had to put out here. So if you look at the last sentence, it is providing the rationale or the gap. It has identified the gap, that what is the gap there that you want to fill, or you want to, why are you doing this particular study actually. So what would I write instead of these two sentences? I would just write, although the disease, when you write the disease, it means that this particular disease, it's specifying dengue fever that you have described in the beginning. So although the disease has been reported to be endemic in Pakistan, or you can just state right away that although the disease is endemic in Pakistan, it means that sporadic incidents of dengue fever are taking place in different parts of Pakistan. Uh, but several regions, but there is negligible information, about the southern parts of Pakistan. That he's talking about the southern parts. So I would just write it like this: although the disease is endemic in Pakistan, there is negligible information about the southern parts of KPK, including Banu. Okay, now I have provided the background in rationale. So this is what you have to do. You can, write it in a different way. It depends upon you, that what kind of sentences actually you are choosing, what kind of words, and how would you like to put these sentences in a way that would carry a very um, simple message and would attract the reader as well. Okay, so now you compare it with this one. This is the same background and the rationale or the gap that he has identified. Now I have written it in different way. It's essentially the same thing. People who are of your background would immediately come to know about the importance of your study, that dengue fever is a major health problem affecting millions across the globe. And then you are stating that all the disease is endemic in Pakistan. It means the disease is causing outbreaks in Pakistan, in different parts of Pakistan. But there is negligible information about the southern parts of KPK, including Banu. And that's why you are actually doing this particular study. So in the next sentence, as I told you about the aim of the study, so this is the background and rationale, and then you can follow it by the aim of the study. So most of the students, they are not stating about the aim of the study, but you can state here very clearly that what was the aim of the study. So the aim of the study in this case, uh, this particular student has, not given uh, the aim of this particular study, but I would just add to it that you can further write that the aim of this study was to find out or to figure out or to investigate or to analyze. You can use different words when you are writing aim of particular study. So you can also write it like this, that this study was designed to investigate, designed to find out, designed to analyze that this particular aspect that you have identified. And also you can combine your aim with uh, you know the methods. I will also show you uh, about that one. Okay, you can use types of tenses in order to write your aim. You can write it in the present tense, or you can write it in the past tense, but you have to avoid the future tense here when you are writing the aim of your study. For instance, in this case, I can write that the aim of this study was to figure out or find out or investigate uh, endemic regions in district cohort. For instance, I want to, this is my aim, you know. Uh, how did you do it? If you want to combine it with the methods, for instance, then you can further write that how you aim to achieve this particular target. So it looks good or beautiful if you just add a brief of the methods here, although you have to describe the methods below. I will show you how to do that, but here uh, you can write simply that how you are going to do this particular job just in a couple of words by, for instance, analyzing uh, the incidence of DF that we are talking about in major healthcare units. Okay, where where are you going to do this particular study? This is district Kohar, and how you are going to do this particular study or to achieve your objective or aim is by analyzing the incidence of dengue fever in major healthcare units. What are the healthcare units? The healthcare units are the hospitals. So it means that you would collect some samples or data from the hospitals. You would look for the incidence of the disease in the hospitals. And in this way, you would determine endemic regions where the problem arises from time to time, and now you are determining this endemicity for the past events for a previous year. So you are going to you try to find out uh, where the problem actually was more prevalent in during the past year. So that is you know you are determining endemicity of this particular condition by analyzing hospital-based data. Okay, so now if you go back, these are the methods, and I told you that aim and methods can be combined, can be written combinatorially. You can also write the aim as your separate aim followed by the methods. Okay, now we move to the next slide. Here I will show you how to make changes to your methods. So these are the methods. Okay, now we have to make changes to the methods, that how actually you can write the methods. If you look at the student's writing, he has written that this study was conducted in 2 hospitals, district headquarters, and combined military hospital cohort. Samples were gathered from both departments, IPD and OPD, from 2018 to 2019. So if you look at the sequence of events, or if you look at the wording of the sentences, these are not very clear. So these actually would not give a good impression to the reader. When the reader is going through this stuff, he would, not be impressed by what you have done, actually. That's why you have to be very careful to write it in an interesting way in order to attract the reader. And that is actually a good presentation. So how to write the methods here? If I would make changes to the methods, how would it look like? Okay, so I would write it like this: individuals with dengue-like symptoms. Okay, this is the methodology that I have adopted for achieving my objectives. Uh, so I would write individuals with dengue-like symptoms who reported to these hospital healthcare settings that we are conducted this studying. These are the settings of the study: district headquarter hospital, or you can say CMH, for instance, combined military hospitals. Okay, over a period of 16 months, you have to define the period when you are going to uh, talk about the incidents, because they have figured out incidents in this study. Then you have to define the period, because incidents, when you are going to um, determine prevalence of a particular conditions, then you don't have to describe this particular period. But when you are talking about incidence of a particular disease, you should describe the time period, that how much was the time span in which you conducted this particular survey or this particular study. So I would just write over a period of 16 months. Okay, I can give these dates that he have given there: 2018 to 19, for instance. Okay, you can give the months or something. I'm just simply describing it. So I would be using these short cuts or abbreviations. Okay, or a period of 16 months were investigated for the presence of NT dengue, NT dengue, IgG, or IgM. Okay, these are the antibodies that you are looking for when you are looking for any evidence by you know uh, of the disease. Okay, then you are utilizing some kind of method. So here in this particular study they had done ELISA, for instance, in order to figure out anti-dengue antibodies in the plasma patients, or they had used a questionnaire in order to take the history of patients who were visiting these hospitals and to ask them if they had any infection in the past or something, or about their demographics or something. So you have to describe these things in the methods, that what different methods actually you used for your assessment. So here you investigated these patients for the presence of anti-dengue IgG or IgM antibodies by ELISA. Okay, you use this particular technique, so you have to describe here. And what did you do for history and demographic information of the patients? You should just write it here, that history and demographic information of, okay, of individuals, or you can just avoid it. You can just state that history and demographic information were collected on, okay, collected on, or you can say with the help of a pre-designed performer. Okay, so these are the methods that you have used. Then this is your experimental part. You can also give out there that how did you analyze this. So if you don't have space limitations, then you can just write it down that the data obtained was analyzed statistically via SPSS or some other statistical software. Okay, so you can mention about the statistics as well. Okay, for instance, I would write it for your convenience that the data obtained was analyzed statistically using SPSS. You can also give version number, version 10 or 16 or whatever you have used. Okay, so this is uh, these are the methods that you have used. Okay, now you can compare the above given paragraphs, and you can find out that uh, about the flow of the paragraph. You can also find out different mistakes in it. For instance, if you look at it, the blood samples were taken and other data were gathered by questionnaire. Okay, so you have to clearly state it here, in a sequence. And who are you going to sample? These are people who have dengue-like symptoms, and you have identified the period, this particular period from 2018 to 2019, you conducted this study. In this setting, you also have given the study settings, which is a DHQ hospital or CMH hospital in that particular area cohort. Okay, and how did you do it? You did it by analyzing IgG or IgM antibodies by ELISA. You use this particular technique for finding out evidence of dengue in patients. Okay, so somebody who would have dengue-like symptoms, and who would have IgM or IgG antibodies in their plasma would most probably uh, be infected with the dengue virus. And that would authenticate your claim that people who have dengue-like symptoms actually were infected, with the dengue virus. Then you also are going to analyze your data in many different ways. For instance, age-wise or gender-wise, you are going to figure out that what age group is more, prone to this particular condition, or what gender, male or female, who is more prone to this particular condition. So in that case, you have to give this information here in the abstract, that you took the history of, in case of all the patients, and you collected this demographic information. Okay, in the case of all these patients, that these individuals that you have studied, and for that purpose you had designed a proforma. That's why you have to mention it very clearly here. And then you have to, you can also add to it that how actually you uh, analyzed this particular data. So for that, of course, you would be using some kind of a statistical tool uh, that would actually tell you about the significance of your work. So this is about the methods in your abstract. Now, another thing in the abstract is your results. This is the most important section. Now we are going to correct the results, or to write it in a better way, that how actually the results could be written here um, in a proper way. So these are the results that the students have mentioned. In the present study, total of these patients were positive regarding with DME infections, 1,700 patients. The frequency of infection was higher in male, and you can read out this particular paragraph. Okay, so there are several mistakes in the presentation of the results is also not good. Just look at how I'm going to state these results, the same results that he has actually mentioned here. So I can simply write that a total of 214, which is 26% or so, or I can just write 26% without mentioning the number, a total of 214, which makes 26%. It's better that I write total here. Uh, 214 out of 1700. Suppose it makes 26%. Maybe the percentage is a little bit different because I have made changes to the numbers in order to avoid any issue, because this is a student's abstract that he has actually sent me. That's why. So here you the message that I wanted to convey is that if you give out the number here, you also have to mention the total in order for the people to correctly assess the percentage. So you can assess here quite easily whether this percentage would be right or wrong. And a total of these individuals turned out positive for either IG, IgM or IgG. Okay, and this is giving me the total, my total results, that how many individuals actually turned out positive for these antibodies, either IgG or IgM. Okay, then I have to write that the frequency of infection of the infection in males. I can give the same percentages he has given for men. 70.42% was higher than in female. I can write just male here in female. And what is that percentage in the case of female? It's 29.58% that he has given. So it's the same percentage that he has mentioned, but a different structure of the sentence that I actually have used here. Then it would be followed by uh, the most important aspect of this study, for which we actually are looking for endemicity or incidence of the dengue fever, that where the incidence was higher. So I can write that incidence of dengue fever was, for instance, I write the highest in Lachi area, as he has given here. Lachi, it's 24.28% that he has given. I would write it, followed by one second please, followed by Hangu. You can give out the percentage here, and city. You also can give out the percentage here. Okay, that's done. Now, if you have figured out the incidence, rate or significance of the incident rates, you have correlated it with the seasonal conditions, then you can simply write that the incidence rate was significantly associated with the post-monsoon season. you can write down that uh, you know the frequency of uh, you know people infected was reported to be higher in the post-monsoon seasons. I can simply write here that the incidence rate was significantly. If you have done this statistical analysis and this is significant association, then you can write it that the incident rate was quite significantly associated with the post monsoon season. Okay, so that is a good message. So all these are all your important results that you have uh, given out here. Okay, if you do this particular test of significance association uh, of the two, the dengue fever and the post-monsoon season, then you can also give your p-value here. So you can mention your p-value here, whatever test of significance you have conducted. So that would make your results more interesting as compared to this presentation, the above one, which actually uh, is not giving you the impression that uh, the work is very important, or you have done something very important. So here you have identified these endemic regions by calculating the incidence rate in these different areas of cohort district. So you have given your results here. Now the last thing that comes is the conclusion that you draw from these results. Okay. Okay. Now this is the conclusion that the student actually has given here. I can simply write that this study or the study this study identified 3 endemic regions in district cohort, okay, wherein what was the other most significant thing, that conclusion that you can draw out of your results that I discussed in the previous slide is that you state that the monsoon season is somehow affecting the prevalence of the disease, okay, or the incidence of the disease. So you just state that wherein uh, the monsoon effect contributes significantly towards the spread of dengue fever. So that is your conclusion. Okay, the conclusion that you make based on your results actually is this, that your aim was to identify the endemic regions, and your results are telling you that the incidence of this particular condition is more in certain areas as compared to other areas. Okay, and on the basis of that, you um, on the basis of the degree of severity of the conditions in different areas, you are determining endemicity of the condition, that how endemic this particular condition is in a particular area. So it means that in cohort districts, there are 3 regions which are endemic for these conditions where the problem arises. over a certain period of time. And that's why you have stated here, you have on the basis of your reserves or the incidence rate in different areas, you have come up with this conclusion that there are 3 endemic regions in cohort districts. And you also have gone through the weather effect, that how are people reporting infections, you know, in different seasons, in winter season or summer seasons, or what is that particular you know, window where more infections are being reported. And you have also done that kind of study. So on the basis of that, you have come to know that the dengue fever is, you know, affecting more people post monsoon. It means that the monsoon season or the rainfall has something to do with the you know, spread of the infection. So how would the rainfall affect it? That is another thing, and that may be due to you know, the spread of the vector that actually is responsible for spreading this particular virus, because the vector thrives in hot and humid climate, and in summers, in the monsoon seasons, hot and humid climate favors uh, these mosquitoes, or the Aedes aegypti and other mosquitoes. They flourish in this season, and that's why post-monsoon season is very important, you know. So it means that the monsoon season actually was responsible for accelerating this the pace of this condition, and that's why more people were affected. Okay, so if somebody wants to somebody wants you to write an abstract, different elements of an abstract, then you should write that you have to provide a background, a very short background of your study, and uh, along with the background, you have to give a sentence which identifies the gap, or which also is called the rationale of the study, that you will have to give in that, in those 2 or 3 sentences at the maximum. Then you have to state the aim of the study, followed by the methods that you actually are that you have used, and this should follow your brief results. And the results should not be, you know, in great details. You can give only your significant results. And finally, the conclusion that you draw from your results. Okay, that what actually your results imply. Conclusion doesn't mean that you actually give the same results here under this title, the conclusion title. Okay, you have to you know, think about your results and figure out. You have an aim of the study, you have a rationale, identify the gap. So keeping in view all these different things, you can draw a conclusion of your study. And you can also give recommendations at the end. If the space or the format allows, then you can give recommendations as well, 1 or 2 recommendations. But usually recommendations are at the end of the thesis. And what different you know, tenses you can use for stating all these things is, I told you about aim. You can use the present tense, or you can use the past tense for this particular section. Okay, and if you are stating the methods, you don't have to use future tense for aim. Okay, if you are stating the methods, for instance, the methods should be past tense always, because you have already done this particular work. Okay, and if you are stating the results, you can use present tense or past tense. Both present and past tense can be used for this particular part of the study, you know. And you can just practice with it with different aspects, and you would come to know, okay, that how you can write a perfect abstract. And for other parts of the thesis, right from introduction to the mm, final discussion, which is very important, I would guide guide you stepwise, and I would upload other videos where I would just, describe all these different things. So this was the abstract that the student had sent me, and then I have now corrected you in front of you, and I have told you how to use short sentences, meaningful sentences, and how to provide with different elements, and how to correct your methods and results, how to mention your results, and how to draw conclusion from your results. So this is the most important part, as I told you, of your thesis or your manuscript, so you must take great care. And as I told you in the beginning, that this part of your thesis comes first, but it is written at the end. When you are done with all different things, then you write down a brief summary of your um, work. Thank you very much, and I hope to see you again uh, with some more videos on thesis writing. Thank you very much.